It says, in popular psychology, a quarter-life crisis is a crisis involving anxiety over the direction and quality of one's life, which is most commonly experienced in a period ranging from a person's early 20s up to their mid-30s. Jessie is the age, basically, that I was when my channel kind of started, like, doing well. I was 23 starting my YouTube channel. Isn't that really weird?
That is crazy.
Remember, it's my birthday today. I'm 24. Happy birthday to me. You better sing me happy birthday. Hello? It's...
Sorry. Melanie, why?
I'll go again. Hello. This is my sister Jessie B.
Hi.
We used to do a series on my channel called Teenage versus 20something, and I'm sure a lot of you found my channel that way. You might remember we had a big falling out last year, but we've made up.
Yes.
And we're back, and
Better.
we're kicking off a 20something versus 30something series. So give us some engagement down below if you're excited for that, and comments on what you'd like us to discuss. Jessie is 24. I'm 32.
I turned 24 2 weeks ago and I'm having a quarter life crisis about it.
Yeah, a lot of uncertainty and soul searching going on over here. And I do remember experiencing that, and I was like on YouTube throughout that. And there was so much going on behind the scenes as well that like I never shared. And anyway, today we're discussing aging, getting older, all of our fields about all of the things to do with aging, and not just like looking older, but just everything that comes with it, like the expectations of where you should be at by what age, and comparison to like our parents' generations and like other people online the same age, and
Money and sex and confidence and all of the things.
let us know if like which camp you're in, if you're 20-something, if you're 30-something. And
I've actually seen some people say that they're closer to my age, but they're in your bracket of life with like owning a house and having kids and all.
how does that make you feel?
Awful.
Am I really small now? I am. I look like the little sister. Why does that make you feel awful?
When I was like even 20, 21, even 22, I was like, I'm so young. I have so much time. I felt young. But now that I've turned 24 and
Do you not feel young now?
No. My best friend in school, like for a period of time, like we were like this. She just got married and is currently on her honeymoon. And I'm still trying to get out of my parents' house. Like we're still trying to find a house.
But why are you comparing yourself to her?
Like the way society is, and even like our mum at my age, she had you and Andrew, and she was married and she was in a house. And then also I suppose it's even like, you know, the older generations around you, it's like, well, what's your plan now? Where are you going? What are you going to do? And it's like, will you just relax? Like, this is the most uncomfortable, awkward age I've ever felt.
She was like, I'm in my mid-20s. I thought I was in my early 20s. And I think a big part of that now is the pandemic, and like everyone feels like they lost 2 years. Like I definitely in my head I'm still 30. Sometimes people say, what age are you? And I say 30, and I'm actually 32.
And I feel 22, and that's not a big difference, but
No.
in your head it does feel like quite a difference. And I think that's it, is because essentially it feels like 2 years of your 20s
Have been taken.
and you didn't get to do the things you would do.
Yeah.
And then also even like when I was just say a teenager, like 16, 17, I saw my life looking a lot different at this age. And I think that's where a lot of it comes in. It's not comparing myself to other people. It's comparing myself to what my past self expected of me. My past self would be so disappointed with where I'm currently at.
Yeah, I experienced that big time. Like, and I don't ever have those feelings now. But I think it's because I was working toward being in this place, and like I just thought I would be in this place a lot younger, you know?
Yeah.
I did.
Yeah.
And I remember leaving a relationship when I was 25 and thinking,
Oh shit.
oh shit, that's me done now. I'm never going to meet someone that I would want to marry. I'm day old bread. I'm old now.
I'm
like,
stale.
I literally felt some stale. I literally was like, you know, my days are numbered. My eggs are dwindling.
I think that's a huge worry with me too, because I've got PCOS.
Yeah.
It's like, it's not just like, I know I'm so young and I still have a lot of eggs, but because my eggs aren't coming through all the time, like I'm not ovulating, it's like that worries me as well.
You have the biological worries, like the ticking clock feeling.
Yeah.
And we were talking about that as well. Girls get the brunt of this. Because guys, like, lads, I feel like, you know, I know my ex's dad had daughters, like 2 twin daughters, when he was like 60 or something like that. When you've got ovaries, like, you do have to think these things out, and you have to allow time for like potential losses, like miscarriages, and it's a horrible feeling though, because you don't want, it's not something you just dive into. Motherhood, like, it's such a life-changing thing, and it's not
like, imagine a 6-year-old woman pregnant.
Basically where you're at is like, you know, what am I doing, where am I going, you know, and you were saying that you feel quite lost in all of your, you know, areas of like job and like this and that, because like and I was the exact same. Like when I was 24, I think I was possibly graduating with my degree, but then I was like, I'm not going to be doing this. I'm going to just do YouTube. But then I didn't know what YouTube would become. I thought it was just going to be my job for like a few months or a year.
You started when you were like my age, didn't you?
Yeah. Jessie is the age basically that I was when my channel kind of started like doing well. I was 23 starting my YouTube channel. Isn't that really weird?
That is crazy.
Remember our first video together, you're like a little teenager.
I'm 15 and I think you were 23 in that. And I was a little child.
Mel the smell, Jess the mess. We are sisters, we're the best.
The difference in you at that age versus you now, it's huge.
It's
like 2 different people.
In my head, tell me if you feel like this. And you. Do you not have the same voice in your head though? Like my inside head voice since I was 21.
Oh yes, same.
The same. My granny used to say to me, you know, when she was in her 70s, she'd be like, who's that? When she'd be looking at her reflection in the mirror and she's like, I don't recognise her.
Yeah.
At all. No, like I definitely think that as I've gotten older, I feel more comfortable about getting older. But when I was in my 20s, the mountain before me was so vast. I was like, how the hell do you buy a house? How do you, you know, like, how do you meet someone that you're like, oh yeah, I would happily spend 40, 60 years with you?
Well, I have that one.
Yeah, I know, but you know what I mean? When you don't have it, it's like, you're like...
I think that's how I feel, is like at the minute, is like, it's like I'm looking at Kilimanjaro. Is that the biggest mountain in the world? It's going up to the sky. And like you can't even see past a certain point of it. Do you know what I mean? And it's like you're going up it and you keep sliding down. And you go up again. It's like...
The world's not very friendly to 20-somethings, man. I mean
it's
it.
Not.
It's not.
It's
like,
not.
You know, our parents, like you said earlier, like our parents... My mom and dad had bought a house in their early 20s and like had 2 kids. A lot of people in their 20s are literally feeling like their choice is career or family, or it's like child or house.
I feel like it's such a weird age in the sense of like there's 2 categories essentially. It's like people, and I hate that phrase like having your shit together, because I don't think anyone ever has their shit together, but you know what I mean, like kind of more so on the path to their dreams and goals in life. I feel like in your 20s, like people are either kind of making great progress in that sense, or they're, as you say, you're trying to like kind of, you're like, what do I focus on? Because I can't focus on all, and I can't afford to focus on
all the plates in the air.
It's like you're juggling balls, but you have to let a couple fucking down. Do you know what I mean? And I feel like that's what it is in your 20s. It's like, okay, what should I be juggling here? Yeah. And then you're juggling, like, just say, like, career, relationship, something. And then you're like, but should I be focusing on this other thing as well? Do you know, I just feel like there's so much uncertainty. I think that's, like, the biggest thing. Like, I feel it just... Even looking at you now, right? You're married, you've got a baby, and you've got a house. I'm just like, that to me feels a million worlds away.
But it is. But when I was your age, it was.
Yeah.
When I was your age, I had no savings. I had a couple of £100, but like I had no money. I wasn't with the person I was going to end up marrying. Like I didn't know him, but I wasn't like with him.
Like you did it. Do you know what I mean?
I know. It's like, that's why I'm not so frightened anymore of getting older. I think because I spent time working on building the life that I wanted to grow into. We were kind of just saying it in the video we did on Jess's channel there about like being traditional and stuff like that, and I have always been kind of quite traditional in wanting a family and a home, and as I said in your video, like a lot of that comes from coming from a fractured family. I always wanted that total opposite of that, because I always felt like a scared cat living my life. You know, I always felt like if anyone, we were saying that, like if you have a fight with someone, they're gone forever. You know, and it was always this catastrophic feeling and thinking, and like I just wanted a nice, safe, home, my partner to feel like my home, and to be a mother.
Because you hear so much that your 20s are the best years of your life. Like, you hear that a lot.
Yeah.
And it's like, for me, I'm like, alright, if these are the best years of my life, I don't fucking want my 30s, 40s and 50s. And that's the God's honest truth. Because I'm like, if this is as good as it gets? And that's not true. Do you know what I mean?
But I think some people do say that about their 20s because, like, they possibly romanticize youth, and they possibly didn't set themselves up very well for their older years. The happiest people I've ever met are older people. Like, your 20s are probably the most free of your life in some ways, but you're not financially free. You're not, like, you still don't have, pick my ear, I love it. You still don't have that sense of freedom that comes with, like, you know, when you're older, your confidence is like next level, because you're just like, I don't care about the stupid things. Like today, we were like, oh, is my hair okay before we film? And like, oh, you know, this spot and stupid shit. Like, when I'm 60, if I'm getting stressed about a fucking hair being out of place, or like, you know, there's a chip in my nail polish that I just got done, like,
I had a really hard teenage years, and like, it doesn't mean because my teenage years were hard, the 20s have to be the best years ever. Like, it's still possible that my 30s, 40s and 50s can, but I think that's the biggest struggle mentally, is like the pressure from people around, and like, especially online. I think having access to so many people is really unhealthy, because
the comparison when you see people your age doing this or that or the other that you haven't done, you know, it's like, it's so bad. Like, I even now, and I know, you know, I've ticked off a lot of my boxes, so like I feel very grounded and stuff like that, but then I'm like, oh, this person's my age and they have a PhD and they have all those things that I have.
Comparing,
so like, there's always something that you're going to be like, I don't have that, I didn't do that.
I think that's the biggest thing, is like, no matter what age you are, you're always capable of doing that comparison. So it's like, it really coming down to trying to work on like comparing your present self to only your past self, and constantly trying to grow, as you say, into that person you want to be and that life you want to live. It is portrayed as well that, like, you know, once you hit your 30s, that it's like nearly down from there.
Oh, I hate that.
I hate it, because it's like how young you are, and that's like, for a lot of people, like even Dad, like he says like that was the best decade of his life, like his 30s.
I've even felt that from people, you know, being like, oh, all the fun is behind you, and you know, it's all gonna be boring here on in, and this, that, and the other. And like, I just do not see it that way at all. Like, my 20s were just so full of uncertainty, anxiety, stress, you know, working my way up in education, career, like trying to find someone who I was compatible with. Like, God, the ups and downs, and the just like my quarter life crisis was, you know, just I was very almost like rejecting the whole life I had always like wanted and imagined for myself. I was so convinced I would never have that I was just trying really hard to like almost be someone that I wasn't, to I don't know. I honestly, I couldn't tell you. That
just shows how confusing your 20s are.
Your 20s are just a minefield. And then also it's like moving on to like the looks end of things and stuff. Like, you know, for years you're like, you know, it's like, oh, I've got spots, my skin's too oily, and this, that, and the other. And it's like, they're all like signs of like youthful skin. And like, you spend years stressing about them, worrying about them. And as soon as they're gone, then you're like, my face is getting saggy. I don't like, should I get fillers? Like
last night even, I was saying to Melanie, like, I'm having like a really bad breakout at the minute, and I've not had such a painful sore one in like quite a while. And then she was like, that's a sign of youth, Jessica. Look at my face. And she pulled up her cheeks.
Like if I do this, I was like, oh, I recognise her.
Yeah,
but I am noticing my age more now. It's like for years I didn't really feel like I looked that different.
Yeah.
And then one day I was like, oh, there's way more greys now. When I get my hair dyed, like I notice every time I go, there's way more grey hair, and there's like I had a grey pube one day. I'm like,
Melanie, how'd you even notice that?
Just think about the way women are portrayed in the media, and like if they look in any way older, like the way they're just like so attacked, and the women who are celebrated are like the women who are like 40 and still look early 20s because they've had so much surgery and work done, and the best of the best, like expensive skincare, and we do absorb that, we do, like, and I'm not immune to that at all. I'm aware of it. Like when I was younger in my 20s, it freaked me out, the idea of being this age now. Like I am now the age of Carrie Bradshaw in season 1 of Sex and the City. The reason I always bring that one up, because some people it's like, oh, the characters from Friends, like I'm now the age that they were in Friends, or like they'll have whatever. But for me, like the whole like Carrie Bradshaw one is, when I was 19, I watched that show and I was like, they're all so old. Like this is a great show, but it's like, it's about such old women. Why am I enjoying this show about these L ones, And I was rewatching season 1, like, she looks so young and so good for her age, and like, you're just perspective of age. Do you ever watch a movie like that you loved as a child, like The Goonies, and you relate more to the kid characters, and you're like, do you know what I mean? Like Harry Potter, like I still watch it and I'm like, me and the kids, but then I'm like coming into that age bracket of like the teachers, like the old adults. Like it's such a mind fuck. Like getting older is such a weird mind fuck. I just don't think humans are supposed to like even have mirrors and supposed to be so aware of getting older. Back in the day, back in the old and good times, older people were so much more respected, and like you'd be so excited to become that like older, wiser person, and to have all these amazing stories to tell the younger people. Like I just can't get over the obsession with being young in our society, and like
it's like that, because like every single teenager, they just want to be, or a child, teenager. My whole life, I think from about 8, I was like, I just want to grow up, because it's like you just want to, you associate kind of getting older with kind of independence and freedom and responsibility and just all these things that you don't get as when you're younger, and not kind of being kept in like a box and kind of having to go to someone else. But
then you really miss that. You want to climb right back into your mother's womb as soon as you get into the real world. I really don't want to wish my life away. Even when you have a small kid and you're just so tired and you're like, can't wait till he's talking, can't wait till this, can't wait for...
And then they just flash by.
And then you're looking back and you're like, where did it all go? Like, that's why mindfulness is so important, and like being present and, practicing all those bloody... Like my main one that I do is I'll focus on an object in the room and like the texture of it, and I'll just like not think, or I'll do like those kind of meditations where you repeat one word,
guided meditations,
leaf, and you'll just literally you just literally sit there, quietness, whatever, and you just think the word leaf and imagine a leaf over and over and over and over and over again for like 15 minutes.
We did stuff like that in therapy, but like holding a leaf and you're like focusing on all the textures and the colour, and it's just zoning in. I do a lot of that as well. Me now at 24, like I am so much more wiser, and I've matured so much, and I've grown so much as a person from when like even the last 5 years.
Why can't we spend time appreciating that instead of being like, but what about all these other things I have to do?
It's like constant projection into the future instead of being like, looking at how far you've actually come, and it's like, oh my god, I'm here now. And also because where you currently are at, one of your past selves would be fucking amazed. Like, do you know what I mean? That you actually like have got into that place, or like even like I've done like nearly a year and a half of therapy, like younger me would be like, go girl, do you know what
Yeah.
I mean, like killing it.
Yeah.
But then like here I am and I'm like, you know, just looking at the things that I haven't done, but like I've done so much, and like everyone watching this has achieved so much, like, and it's kind of like, I suppose that is kind of it does kind of tie in with just being in like your present moment, but it's so hard when it's tied into the world of social media that we live in now, because it's like people are, you just have access to so many people's lives, and it is very hard to not compare yourself at certain times. Like, you know, your brain just automatically goes into that mode. Like, it's like, well, look at you.
There's a YouTube musician I follow, and I remember quite clearly, like, she was talking about feeling past her peak. And you know the way there's the whole 27 club, have you heard about that, of all of the like famous people who died at 27 and stuff like that? I was looking at her like, you're so young, but she was so aware of her age in comparison to like when all of these great musicians did their best work, and thinking like, oh my god, by this age so and so had X amount of #1 singles. The fact that like people, they really are only, they're so celebrated like when they're just at this moment in time, like they're, you know, they're so young, and it's like, you know, they're so hot and they're so this and that and the other. I just hate thinking of life that way. Like, some of the best actors in the world, you know, they did their best acting like when they were so much older. There's actors who only really made it when they were like in their 40s, 50s. Like, most people write their best books when they're way older, because they've got way more life experience to draw from.
That's what I was going to say. I saw something recently, and it was like, you know, it was like all different names, but X was 58, X was 59, and it was like, if you're in your 20s or 30s, you have so much time like to hit your peak. It's like you're miles away from it.
Why would you want to peak in school? That is why, like,
20s, and then it all goes downhill.
Like, who wants that? You know, I love to think of like, like obviously every decade is going to have its own little peaks, but I just want like every part of my life to like stand out for like different reasons, and to be kind of marked by different achievements and new friendships, new memories, new skills learned, and like,
it's kind of like a story where every chapter has its own purpose. Yeah. And every chapter has its own like focus.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Imagine reading a book and just stopping at chapter 3 and being like,
it's shit.
It couldn't get better than this, so why should I finish it? You know, when you're in secondary school, like in Ireland, we have the leaving cert, that's the final exams, and the teachers make it seem like life or death. Oh my God. You know, how you do in this exam is going to determine the rest of your life, and like if you do bad, your life's going to be shit. It's just so awful. It's so bad.
But the conditioning obviously starts from that age.
Yeah.
It's like from them kind of adults. When you're so young and your subconscious, like all that shit is going into your subconscious.
Obviously there's some things that, you know, if you're ever going to do it, it's probably a good thing to start at this age, and blah, blah. You know, if you want to be like a world-class footballer, it's good to start young. You know?
Well, no,
so
you
have a long time
can't
to
be a world-class footballer when you're older. You just can't.
Yeah,
so,
in general, like, you can pick up, there's so many things you can pick up at later in life, and young people have to deal with so much, like the hustle culture. Oh my God, it's just out of control.
The hustle culture is insane.
And there's such a glamorization of people who are like 21 and already a millionaire, and you know,
and that, like, that in itself is so bad, because like a 21-year-old was never meant to have so much money or like even fame. Like, you know, people,
money doesn't even exist. We made up money. The concept of money is just a concept. Like, they're printed off bits of paper that we've assigned a value to. Really, it doesn't mean anything. The only reason it means anything is because we've all collectively agreed that a €10 note is a €10 note. It's literally just...
I don't remember agreeing this.
Like, I do definitely feel myself getting older in terms of my energy levels. I will admit that. Like, I do. And I know that you'll see, you know, the 65-year-old marathon runner, and, you know, but like, I definitely feel a lot more like exhausted than I did when I was younger. Like, I think about how I used to go to like a music festival and just be like basically awake for days.
But even I feel like that, my energy versus now versus when I was like 18.
Yeah. Like, so it's just a constant.
At 18, like you, like I'd be able to go for a couple days drinking and stuff. If I have a few drinks now, I'm dying for like 2-3 days. Like my hangovers have just gotten so much worse as I've aged. Like I'm not able to stay awake for the same periods of time. There's definitely like pros and cons to each. Like even just say with money, like in your 30s, well, like you'd hope for like most people that you're going to be in a better financial situation than you were in your 20s, and like so things like that are huge benefits, and they're a huge weight of stress off your shoulders, because even things like that, like in your 30s, like generally now, like you've bought your house, like that's one less stress off your shoulders.
It's so like huge, like that weighing over me for my whole 20s, like, and even I do have international followers who are kind of like, what's this obsession in Ireland with owning your own house? Some people commented that under my video of the empty house tour. Here in Ireland, like a rent, like my mortgage is very similar to what I'd be paying in rent, but I'm paying it off my own mortgage, and then I'll own the house at the end of it. Like my husband and I will own the house, rather than if I was paying rent, like I'm paying off the landlord's mortgage and then he gets all the benefit of that eventually. Like that's not very fair. The problem here is that like a lot of people can afford to pay a mortgage, but they just can't afford the down payment, and because the rents are so high, they're not able to save up for the down payment because they're paying rent. So it's just this horrible circle. And like for my 20s, I felt so stuck with that.
I was going to say, like, when I was renting in Dublin, it was only a couple hundred cheaper than what your mortgage currently is. Which is insane.
Insane for what you had.
And we had a 2-bed apartment.
Yeah.
That was it. And you've got a gorgeous, beautiful house.
For my whole 20s, I was like, I'm going to have to save so much money for a down payment. And you know, then you have all these stupid articles being like, the reason millennials don't own houses is because they buy too many avocados and coffees. And it's like,
I think it's the anticipation of everything in your 20s. I think that's the biggest thing. Because it's like, even the way, like, you're saying now, like, you're not as worried about getting older now than you were at my age. And that's probably because...
It's only because...
things are starting to fall into place the way that you hoped they would at my age.
Yeah.
So that's all it is. But I feel like you just need to kind of...
You need to be present, because I look back, like, I have some of the best memories of my life. And, like, from my, like, mid-20s, like, I just... Because at the time, even, I was so aware that, like, you know, I'm never going to be this young again.
It's a different world now after COVID and all. Then the world you lived in, oh my God. I'd love to have had my 20s when you had them. Oh my God, Melanie. Because,
really?
Yeah, like, even like that. I was 22 when they started. Like, I know you haven't lost 2 years, but you've lost 2 years of what... Them 2 years would have been so different. Like, I wouldn't have spent my 22nd and 3rd year the way I did. I would have done.
You were going to go travelling, weren't you?
I was going to go. We were going to go travelling even all of this year. Like, it's all changed so much, and I'd have.
And everything's gone more expensive now. So now you're like, oh, should we even go travelling, because like the cost of XYZ and everything's gone up.
Or like, should we go travelling, or should we try and rent a house? You know, it's like. So I think that's also a huge difference. Is the time when you were 20s versus now. Like, and I think that's why a lot of people, like, about my age, like anyone who's feeling the same as me, it's because it's not what we thought it would be at 20. Do you know, like, I thought my 24, 25, I'd be like doing everything that I wanted to do.
So shit, Jess.
But now I can only do it in, like, you know, a certain little box. And then obviously the world in general is just... Oh my God.
I mean, Jess, you were talking about that, like, your stamina for sex when you're a teenager.
Oh, yeah.
And then how much it changes. Like, I remember being a teenager and, you know, you'd be sleeping next to your partner and, like, literally, like, you'd be in the middle of sleep and you'd start having sex. Like, you just have sex multiple times a day, and, like...
I don't think it's just your stamina, but it's also new.
It's so new.
So it's, like, this new thing that I get to do, and it's, like, wow. Because, like, even that, like, I never had an orgasm in my teenage years, but I was like, this is amazing.
Yeah. Oh, God, yeah. The amount of fake, and my enjoyment of sex has massively increased with age, even though, like, it's not like the quantity has gone up, but the quality of it has improved so much, because you just see sex very differently. Like, it's when you're younger, I think you're all like, you and your, like, whoever you're having sex with, you can be often trying to just, like, repeat things you saw in porn, and, you know, it's all about putting this here and putting that there and doing this and making this much noise. And when you get older, it's like, it's a much more spiritual experience, and it's much more like, oh my God, you know, and that is one great thing, because I have read, I don't know how true this is, but I've read that, are you picking my hair again? She keeps picking out
Okay, well, you'd be
my
giving
dandruff.
it to me if there was a piece in your hair.
I read that women have their sexual peak often in their 30s. And that makes me quite excited. Yeah, I remember reading about that a few times. Like, I just feel a lot more in touch with my sexuality now. I'm more comfortable in it. And, like, I'm not trying to prove something in it, you know? And,
I feel like that now, though, even as well, like, compared to... But, like, I know...
You're always comparing it when you're younger.
When I was younger, but, like... This is the best I felt in my sexuality, like the best sex I've ever had. Like, I'm so comfortable, like, so I can imagine that, especially for women, that your 30s would. Yeah. Because, like, if this is obviously just going to get better from here, like, you know.
But obviously, like, there's stuff about getting older that just sucks, you know, like, more people around you die, pets die. Like, you've just lost a pet that you had for such a long time, and it's like that sense of time passing. And
it was a month yesterday.
Yeah, there's just difficult... Oh, shit.
Oh, my God, like, just like that.
We were talking about this recently because, like, a friend of mine, like, he was my hairdresser for a few years, and I met him through jobs that we did together and stuff like that. I always wanted updates about my son, seen pictures, and, like, you know, he was just one of the loveliest people I ever met in my life. He was going to be at the wedding, and, like, he was going to do all of our hair and everything, and I found out recently that he died. He had sudden adult death syndrome, and just stuff like that. Just, you know, people I know, like, their babies dying, and, like, just you become more aware of, like, that life isn't forever. You know, when you're a child,
it feels infinite.
It's so long, so many years ahead. So I do think that, like, as I've gotten older, I've started to just appreciate being alive more, and just, you know, appreciate my health more, and make the most of stuff more. Like, I'm not like, you know, oh, sure, I've got all the time in the world. I don't feel like that anymore, because
I feel like a lot that would tie into people's mental state as well, though. Do you know, like, feeling like kind of more, I suppose the way you said, grateful to be alive and grateful to be here. Like, I suppose, like, the better of a mental place you're in, the easier it is to be in that spot. And I suppose, like that, like, your teens, like, your 20s, they can be very difficult, like, mentally. So I get what you mean, by kind of being more aware. Because even now I feel more aware of kind of, I suppose, even losing Lady. Because I was like, I had her for 14 years, and like that. It went. Like that. 10 to 23 I had her, and just like that. Yeah. And it's like, where did them years go? Like, most of them years are like a blur to me, and I'm just like, fuck, life is actually so quick. Like, how am I 24 now? That year went so fast. Yeah. Like, and it's like, and maybe that's a bit of it too, like, with the age, like, it's like, this age, like, even your mid-20s, it's like, you're starting to realise just how quick time is running away from you.
Do you know how someone explained it to me? When you're 6 years old, a year out of your life is a sixth of your life so far. So a year is like a huge amount of time in your head. When you're 32, a year is like a much tinier chunk of life. So then your perception of it can go by quick. You know what I mean? Yeah. So they do say that, like, as you get older, like, it does feel like time slips away and stuff like that. Yeah. And like, that's a fear, and being afraid is a valid feeling, and you know, if there's things you want to do and want to get done, you know, it's just something we all have to talk about more, because, like, bottling this stuff up and all that, it's just not healthy.
Acting like it's not happening,
acting like it's not happening, or acting like, you know, it doesn't bother you, or like,
which I feel like happens a lot on social media.
Yes.
Is it like everyone appears to be so happy with the stage of life they're in?
The whole time I was in my 20s, like, I was just in such a like, I had no idea where things were headed, and I was like, I'd love them to go this way, but, like, will they? And I really hope they do. And I just kept in the forefront of my mind, like, my vision of the kind of life I wanted, and I was like, what do I have control over to actually make that life manifest itself? Like, what can I actually do to stack the cards in my favor, you know? And like, that's all you can do, and just try and enjoy the day. And, like, you know, like, little things, like, when I do notice, like, myself getting older, like, I might have a moment and be like, oh, or like, sometimes, you know, I'll notice like little broken veins on my skin, or like my skin's like drier.
Or you're like lacticity.
Elasticity, like,
Lacticity.
You notice these things and you have feelings on these things, and obviously because we're like, you know, there's just so many opinions on these things thrown out all the time, and I think it's just always about bringing yourself back to, like, you know, who am I, like, who, like, that essence that makes you who you are inside, and like that has the inside head voice, and like, you know, how you treat other people, and like all those things that actually matter is all you can really focus on. And then like slowly accumulating more of the types of things and people that you want in your life. And like 10 years is a long time. Like, you're 24, I'm 30. Like, if I think about being 10 years ago, say 22, I've lived so many lives in that amount of time. Like, I have. Like, Dad says it to me sometimes. He's like, God, you look at a picture of 10 years and going to be like, that feels like yesterday. It doesn't to me.
Yeah.
And because I think is another thing that I always say this to people, that they've shown this is really true, right? The more variety you have in your life and in your experience, like going to a new restaurant, going to a new place, talking to someone new,
the longer
doing different things with your hair, reading different books.
Fuck, sorry. I keep hitting that.
You know, playing different things with your kids, like just
traveling different places.
Yeah, like literally, you even taking a new route on your walk, like. The more different you make your life and your day from the previous day, the previous week, like, it changes your perception of time, like, absolutely. And when you're stuck in a kind of a rut and the same routine, and every single day is the exact same, it can make it feel like time just, that's why with the lockdowns, I think a lot of us, like, like, we weren't really doing and different, like, you know, you'd be,
I think that's why
every
a lot
day
of
was
people
the same.
feel like 2 years were taken, because it's like they didn't get the chance to kind of have the experiences and live the life that they wanted, you know, and then
but you can do that now.
Yeah, we can do that.
Do that now. Oh my God, my 20s, like, just, oh my, so many memories. And I want you to feel that, like, there's so much ahead of you, and like so much can change by the time you're my age. Like, and anytime you're getting nervous about that or whatever, like do look at that in a positive way. Like, think about, like, how far I've come from 24. Like, you know what I mean? It's just not even funny. Like, when I was 24, just and I know you probably thought I was so much, you know, because when
I did, but I was a teenager, so of course I was going to think you were so old. But it's like teenagers now would think I'm so old. Like, that's just how it is. So
leave us a comment if this video brought up any thoughts or
feelings.
And please do let us know what kind of other things you'd like us to talk about in videos together. And we did a video on Jessie's channel as well, a Q&A about a variety of things to do with our relationship.
We're going to be doing a lot more collabs going forward, so if you have any suggestions at all.
Thank you for watching.
We're
going to go. Day. Mwah.
Bye.